Captain Hyun-woo pressed his face against the observation window of the starship Stellar Dawn. The view outside made his stomach twist with worry. Where Earth's massive space station should have been floating, there was only empty darkness. The bright lights that had welcomed visitors for over 100 years were gone. "Run the scanners again," he told his crew. Lieutenant Kira, a blue-skinned alien from the VOS system, moved her 6 fingers quickly over the control panel. Her large eyes reflected the green glow from the screens. "Sir, I am getting the same results," she said, her voice shaking. "No human life signs anywhere in the Sol system. The orbital defense platforms are gone. The mining stations around Jupiter are empty. Even the small outposts on Mars show no activity." Hyun-woo had been coming to Earth for trade meetings for 15 years. The space around the human homeworld had always been busy with ships from dozens of different alien races. Cargo vessels carried goods between the stars. Passenger ships brought tourists to see the famous blue planet. Military patrols kept everyone safe. Now there was nothing. The communication system beeped. Ambassador Zethkar's face appeared on the main screen. The tall, gray-skinned diplomat looked as confused as everyone else felt. "Captain Park, what is your situation?" Zethkar asked. "Everything is abandoned, Ambassador," Hyun-woo replied. "We have checked every human colony in this system. New Tokyo Station, Europa Base, the agricultural domes on Luna, all empty. But there are no signs of fighting. No damage to any buildings. No bodies. It is like every human just decided to leave at the same time." Behind him, Engineer Taehyun was studying readings from the planet's surface. "Captain, the automated systems on Earth are still working. The power plants are running. The traffic lights in the cities are changing colors. But the streets are completely empty." Hyun-woo felt a chill run down his spine. He had walked through those same streets just 6 months ago during the Galactic Trade Summit. The human cities had been full of life. People from Earth mixed with visitors from across the galaxy. Children had played in parks while their alien friends taught them games from distant worlds. Now those same cities were like ghost towns. "Sir, incoming message from the Centauri system," reported Communications Officer Minute Jung. Her voice was tight with worry. The message was from Governor Yoon Sik of the Centauri colonies. His face was pale when it appeared on screen. "All human colonies in our system are empty too. The farming settlements, the research stations, even the military bases. We found breakfast still on tables in some homes. Coffee was still warm in cups. Whatever happened, it was recent and very fast." Similar reports came in from across the galaxy. The human colony on Kepler Prime, abandoned. The human trading post in the Vega system, empty. The human embassy on the Altarian homeworld, deserted. Every single human settlement, from the largest cities to the smallest outposts, had been evacuated completely. Dr. Soon Jae was leading a team of alien scientists through the empty halls of the Lunar Research Station. This place had been humanity's most advanced laboratory. For 20 years, human scientists had worked here to develop medicines that could heal diseases affecting dozens of different alien species. The Rilnati had been saved from extinction by treatments developed in these very rooms. "Look at this," Soon Jae said to her team. She pointed to a large screen showing half-finished research data. They were working on a cure for Zephyrian lung disease. The trials were almost complete. Why would they leave such important work unfinished? Her assistant, a small furry creature called Pip, found something strange in the main computer. There was a simple message left behind: "Thank you for everything. We wish you well. Please take care of yourselves." That was all. No explanation of where they had gone or why they had left. Just a polite goodbye. The news spread quickly through the galactic communication networks. On thousands of worlds, aliens who had become friends with humans tried to understand what had happened. The humans had been helpful neighbors. They had shared their technology freely. They had helped solve problems between different alien races. They had been doctors, teachers, engineers, and peacekeepers throughout the galaxy. On the trading world of Nexus Prime, alien merchants discovered how much they had depended on human business. Merchant Minute stood in his empty warehouse, looking at goods he could no longer sell. The complex trade agreements between different species had been managed by human negotiators who understood everyone's needs. "Without the humans, who will organize the shipping routes?" asked his business partner, a rock-like creature from the granite worlds. "Who will handle the currency exchanges?" They were the only ones who understood all of our different economic systems. The same questions were being asked across the galaxy. Human doctors had treated patients of every species. Human engineers had designed space stations that could accommodate beings with very different physical needs. Human diplomats had prevented wars and helped create peace treaties. Human teachers had developed learning programs for alien children whose minds worked completely differently from each other. Now they were all gone, and nobody knew why. The humans had left behind their cities, their technology, and their carefully built relationships with alien races. But they had taken something more valuable with them: their knowledge, their skills, and their willingness to help others. As Captain Hyun-woo's ship prepared to leave the empty Sol system, he looked one last time at the blue planet below. Earth continued to spin peacefully in space, its ocean still blue and its clouds still white. But without its people, it seemed like just another empty world in the vast darkness of space. 3 months had passed since the humans disappeared, and the galaxy was falling apart. Admiral Jinho stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching red warning lights flash across every screen. In the distance, explosions lit up the darkness of space as 2 alien fleets destroyed each other. The Keth Empire and the Morvani Republic were at war again. For over 200 years, these 2 alien races had hated each other over who owned the Andorian star cluster. The humans had kept peace between them with careful diplomacy and smart agreements. Now, without human peacekeepers, old anger had turned into bloody conflict. "How many ships have we lost today?" Jinho asked his second-in-command, Commander Yojin. 12 vessels from our peacekeeping fleet," she replied sadly. "The Keth and Morvani forces refuse to listen to us. Without human translators, we cannot even understand their battle commands properly." Yojin had worked with human officers for years. She remembered how Captain Sarah Johnson could speak to both sides in their own languages, understanding not just their words but their feelings and culture. Now the translation computers could only give basic meanings, missing the important details that prevented misunderstandings. On the other side of the galaxy, the trading world of Nexus Prime was dying a slow death. Merchant Minute-Ho walked through empty markets that had once been filled with goods from hundreds of different worlds. His cargo ships sat in their docking bays with nothing to carry. "The Zephyrian farmers cannot sell their grain," Minute-Ho explained to a gathering of worried alien traders. "The human food processing centers on Earth are closed. The Altarian crystal miners have no one to buy their gems because human jewelers made them popular throughout the galaxy. Even simple things like space fuel are becoming hard to find because humans manage the supply chains." The economic system that humans had built was like a huge, complicated machine. Every part depended on other parts working correctly. When the humans left, they took their knowledge of how to keep the machine running. Now it was breaking down, piece by piece. Dr. Soo-young tried her best to help in the medical bay of the refugee ship Hope's Edge. Hundreds of injured aliens filled the corridors, victims of the growing conflicts across the galaxy. But without access to human medical databases, treating patients from different species had become almost impossible. "I need the human treatment protocols for Rilnati blood poisoning," she called to her assistant, a young Voss named Kel. "The patient is dying, but I do not know which medicines are safe for his species." "The human medical networks are all offline," Kel replied with worry in his voice. "We only have basic emergency treatments left." Soo-young watched helplessly as another patient died from injuries that human doctors could have easily treated. The humans had spent decades learning how to care for the medical needs of dozens of different alien species. That knowledge was now locked away in empty hospitals and abandoned research centers. The worst news came from the Outer Rim territories. The Hive Collective, a dangerous group of insect-like aliens, had been contained in a small area of space for 50 years. Human military strategists had built a network of defense stations and patrol routes that kept the Hive from spreading to other worlds. Captain Young-soo received the emergency report while leading a small fleet through the contested zone. "Sir, the Hive scouts have broken through the containment field. They have attacked 6 civilian colonies in the past week." The Hive Collective was not like other alien races. They did not want to trade or make friends. They only wanted to consume and grow larger. Human generals had understood their behavior patterns and knew how to predict their movements. Without that knowledge, the galaxy's defenses were failing. "How many worlds have been evacuated?" Young-soo asked. 17 so far, his communications officer replied. "But the refugee ships have nowhere safe to go. The human colony worlds that used to accept displaced populations are all empty." Space travel itself was becoming dangerous. The navigation beacons that guided ships through hyperspace had been built and maintained by human engineers. As these systems started to fail without proper care, ships began getting lost between the stars. Navigator Kyung-ho studied his star charts with growing concern. 3 more cargo convoys have disappeared this week, he reported to the Galactic Shipping Authority. The hyperspace lanes through the Crab Nebula are completely unreliable now. We may need to abandon those routes entirely. The automated systems that humans had left behind were still working, but they were programmed to shut down gradually if no human technicians maintained them. Every day, more space stations went dark. More communication relays stopped working. More defensive barriers failed. On the former human colony of New Busan, alien settlers watched the last fusion power plant slowly reduce its output. Engineer Taehyun worked frantically with a team of alien technicians, trying to understand the human-designed systems before they failed completely. "We can keep the lights on for maybe 6 more months," he told the colony administrator. "But without human expertise, we cannot repair the reactor when it breaks down. This entire world will become uninhabitable." The same problems were happening everywhere. Atmospheric processes that kept alien worlds breathable began to malfunction. Terraforming projects that had taken decades to complete started to reverse. Food production systems designed to feed billions of beings across the galaxy slowly broke down. As Jin-Ho watched another battle rage in the distance, he began to understand a terrible truth. The humans had not just been helpful neighbors who shared their technology. They had become the foundation that held galactic civilization together. Without them, everything was collapsing back into chaos. The stars still shone in the darkness, but the galaxy was growing colder every day. Historian J. Minute carefully opened another sealed file cabinet in the abandoned Seoul Diplomatic Archive. Dust covered everything in the empty building, but the computers still worked. He had spent weeks searching through classified documents, trying to understand why the humans had really left. His research team included aliens from 6 different species, all working together to solve the mystery. They had expected to find evidence of some terrible threat that forced humanity to flee. Instead, they discovered something much more painful. "Look at this message," J. Minute said, projecting a holographic document for the others to see. "It is from Director Sung-ho to President Minute Jung, dated 8 months before the Exodus." The message was marked top secret, and contained words that made the alien researchers uncomfortable. Director Sung-ho wrote about a meeting with the Galactic Science Council where human discoveries about faster-than-light travel had been presented as Altarian innovations. The human scientists who had spent years developing the technology were not even mentioned in the official reports. Dr. Kira, the blue-skinned Voss who had been part of Captain Hyun-woo's crew, read through more files with growing shame. "Here is another one," she said quietly. Dr. Eunji's personal journal from the medical conference on Centauri Prime. The journal entry described how Eunji had developed a cure for the Zephyrian plague that had killed millions. At the award ceremony, the Zephyrian government gave credit to their own scientists, calling it a joint research project even though humans had done all the work. Eunji wrote about watching from the audience while aliens accepted praise for her discoveries. "We are treated like helpful servants," the journal continued. "We give everything and receive nothing but polite smiles. Our children cannot get into the best galactic universities because those schools prefer established civilizations over newcomers like humanity, even though we have been part of the galactic community for over a century." The research team found hundreds of similar documents. Human engineers who designed space stations but were not allowed to sign their names on the blueprints. Human diplomats who negotiated peace treaties but were excluded from the signing ceremonies. Human colonies that requested military protection but were told that established alien worlds had higher priority. Ambassador Zethkar arrived at the archive after hearing about these discoveries. His grey face looked older as he read through the evidence of how his own government had treated humans. "I remember this incident," he said, pointing to a report about the trade negotiations on Nexus Prime. "The humans proposed a fair distribution system for rare minerals, but we modified their plan and took credit for the idea. I thought it was normal diplomatic practice." Engineer Taehyun found the most shocking documents in a hidden data core. They revealed Project Exodus, a secret human program that had been planned for over 10 years. The project leader was Admiral Changsu, working with brilliant scientist Dr. Hawon. "They were not planning to abandon us out of anger," Taehyun explained to the group. "Look at these research notes. They spent years developing new technology in complete secrecy. Advanced faster-than-light drives, self-repairing spacecraft, terraforming systems far beyond anything we have seen." Dr. Hawon's private notes showed the careful thinking behind the Exodus. "We cannot continue to sacrifice our people's future for beings who see us as useful tools rather than equal partners," she had written. "Perhaps when we are gone, they will understand what they have lost. Perhaps they will learn to value what they took for granted." The humans had identified a cluster of unexplored star systems beyond the edge of known space. While publicly maintaining their diplomatic duties and helping other species, they had secretly sent survey ships to these distant worlds. They found planets suitable for human life and began preparing them for colonization. Captain Youngsu discovered evidence of the evacuation logistics. Every human transport ship, every cargo vessel, every private spacecraft was secretly modified with the new drive systems. They could move their entire population in a matter of days once the order was given. The final decision came after an incident at the Galactic Unity Festival. Human artists had created a beautiful cultural exhibition showing the history and achievements of Earth. The festival organizers placed the human display in a back corner, giving the main areas to alien cultures they considered more important. President Minute Jung's final speech to the secret Human Leadership Council was found in encrypted files. "We have given our knowledge, our lives, and our children's futures to build a better galaxy," she had said. "In return, we have been treated as second-class citizens in our own galactic community. It is time to choose ourselves." The evacuation had been perfectly organized. Every human colony, space station, and outpost received coded instructions transmitted through normal communication channels. Families packed only personal belongings, leaving behind the homes and facilities they had built. Within 72 hours, humanity had vanished from known space. Navigator Kyung-ho found the most heartbreaking evidence in personal messages between human families. Children wrote to their friends about having to leave without saying goodbye. Parents apologized to alien neighbors for abandoning shared projects. Teachers left lesson plans for alien students they would never see again. "They did not hate us," Kyung-ho realized as he read through the messages. "They were sad to leave. But they chose their own dignity over staying where they were not truly respected." As the research team finished reviewing the documents, they understood the terrible truth. The humans had not been taken by force or frightened away by threats. They had made a conscious choice to leave behind everything they had built because staying meant accepting a future where their contributions would never be truly valued. The galaxy had lost its most generous species not to war or disaster, but to its own ingratitude. 2 years had passed since humanity vanished, and the galaxy was dying. Station Commander Wook stood in the control room of Celestial Gate, watching the last human-built fusion reactor prepare to shut down forever. The massive trading station had once processed cargo from thousands of worlds, but now it drifted silent and cold through space. "Reactor output dropping to 15%, reported Chief Engineer Tae-hyun over the communication system. His voice sounded tired and defeated. "The automated shutdown sequence cannot be stopped. We have maybe 6 hours before total power failure." Wook looked through the observation windows at the empty docking bays below. Celestial Gate had been built by human engineers 50 years ago. It was designed to handle the complex needs of dozens of different alien species, with specialized atmosphere controls, gravity adjustments, and life support systems that no other race fully understood. "How many people are still aboard?" Wook asked. "About 3,000 aliens from various species," Tae-hyun replied. "The evacuation ships can only carry half that number. The rest will have to try their luck in the escape pods, but most of those were designed for humans. They might not work properly for other body types." Similar disasters were happening throughout the galaxy. The automated systems that humans had programmed were following their final instructions, gradually shutting down infrastructure that had taken decades to build. Every day brought news of another critical failure. Captain Youngsu received an emergency message while his exploration ship, the Eternal Search, limped through space on failing engines. The message came from the Emergency Galactic Council, a group of alien leaders trying to coordinate response to the growing crisis. "All navigation beacons in the outer spiral have gone offline," the message reported. 3 cargo convoys are missing, probably lost in hyperspace. The shipping lanes through the Andromeda Passage are no longer safe for travel. Youngsu understood what this meant. Without the navigation network that humans had built and maintained, space travel was becoming as dangerous as it had been centuries ago. Ships could get lost between stars and drift forever in the empty void. His own vessel was proof of the problem. The Eternal Search used human-designed engines that were far more advanced than anything aliens had built independently. But without human mechanics who understood the complex systems, the engines were slowly breaking down. "Sir, we are losing power in the port fusion chamber," reported Engineer Minute-ho. "I have studied the human manuals, but there are systems here that make no sense to me. It is like trying to repair magic." The medical crisis was even worse. Dr. Soo-young worked in an overcrowded refugee camp on the planet Sanctuary, treating thousands of aliens displaced by the expanding conflicts. Without access to human medical knowledge, diseases that had been easily curable were now killing entire populations. "The Rilnati children are dying from blood fever," she told her assistant while examining another young patient. 6 months ago, any human doctor could have treated this with a simple injection. Now I can only watch them suffer. The refugee camps were filled with species that had lived peacefully under human protection. The gentle flower people of the meadow worlds had never developed weapons or military technology. When raiders attacked their planets, they had no way to defend themselves. "Where can we go?" asked Elder Bloomsong, speaking through a translation device that barely worked without human programming. "Our worlds are burning. Our children are hungry. The humans always helped us before." The raider attacks were getting worse every day. Criminal gangs that had been controlled by human law enforcement now operated freely throughout the outer territories. The Crimson Fleet, led by the ruthless warlord Scarjaw, had conquered 12 star systems in the past month. Even worse was the expansion of the Hive Collective. These insect-like aliens had been contained for 50 years by human military strategy. Now they were spreading across the galaxy like a plague, consuming everything in their path. Admiral Jinho stood in the ruins of New Kepler, a colony world that had been home to 5 million aliens from various species. The Hive had attacked 3 days ago. Now only empty buildings and scattered bones remained. "How many worlds have they taken?" Jinho asked his intelligence officer. 4 to 7 confirmed, came the grim reply. "They are moving faster than our forces can respond. Without human strategic planning, we cannot predict their next targets." The environmental disasters were just as devastating. On the world of New Harmony, atmospheric processes that humans had installed began to fail. The alien colonists watched helplessly as their breathable atmosphere slowly turned toxic. Governor Yoon Sik sent desperate messages to any ship in the area. "Our atmospheric systems are breaking down. We have 40,000 residents who will suffocate when the air becomes unbreathable. Please, if anyone receives this message, we need evacuation ships immediately." But there were no ships available. The human-built transport fleet had been abandoned, and aliens did not know how to operate the complex systems. Even simple things like opening the cargo bays required human authorization codes that no one possessed. The Zelani homeworld suffered an even worse fate. For 50 years, human-designed machines had maintained the planet's climate and kept it suitable for life. When those machines finally stopped working, the entire world became uninhabitable within months. Captain Kyung-ho arrived too late to help. His ship detected no life signs on the planet's surface. An entire species of gentle, artistic beings had died because they had depended completely on human technology to survive. "The Zelani created the most beautiful music in the galaxy," Kyung-ho said sadly to his crew. "Now their songs will never be heard again." Across the galaxy, the lights were going out one by one. Space stations went dark. Colonies were abandoned. Trade routes became too dangerous to use. Even the stars seemed dimmer without human exploration teams discovering new worlds and cataloging new wonders. The golden age of galactic civilization was ending, and the darkness was spreading everywhere. Ambassador Jin-Ae had spent 3 years searching the galaxy's edge with her diplomatic vessel, the Redemption. Her mixed crew of alien specialists had followed every possible clue, chased down every rumor about where the humans might have gone. Finally, their long-range sensors detected something impossible in a previously unexplored region of space. "Navigator Kyung-ho, what are those energy readings?" Jin-Ae asked, staring at the displays that showed power signatures unlike anything in known space. "I have never seen anything like this," Kyung-ho replied, his hands shaking as he worked the controls. "The energy output from this star system is 10 times higher than Earth's entire power grid ever produced." The Redemption dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of what humans now called the Haven sector. What the crew saw on their main view screen left them speechless. Massive cities floated freely in space, connected by streams of brilliant light. Artificial rings surrounded stars, collecting their energy. Huge habitats spun slowly around planets that seemed to glow with their own inner light. "Those structures are larger than anything ever built," whispered Chief Engineer Tai-hyun. "How did they construct cities that size? And look at those ships, they move without any visible engines." Humanity had not simply survived after leaving the galaxy. They had created wonders that made their previous achievements look primitive. The diplomatic ship was greeted by a sleek human vessel that appeared beside them without warning. A calm voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, "Welcome to Haven Sector. Please state your business and follow our escort ship to New Seoul Station." Jin-Ae had prepared for this moment for years, but she still felt nervous as they docked at the human station. The technology around them was so advanced that it seemed like magic. Doors opened without switches. Lights adjusted automatically for each alien species in the group. The air itself felt cleaner and more energizing than anywhere else in the galaxy. Director So-young met them in a reception hall that overlooked a beautiful garden city floating in space. She was a middle-aged human woman who smiled warmly but kept a professional distance. Jin-Ae recognized her from old diplomatic files. So-young had once been Earth's ambassador to the Centauri colonies. "Please, make yourselves comfortable," Director So-young said, offering seats that adjusted automatically to fit each alien's body shape. "We are honored by your visit. It has been a long time since we had guests from the old galaxy." President Dong-hyun of the newly formed Galactic Reconstruction Council stepped forward. His species was known for their pride, but now he looked humble and desperate. "Director So-young, our galaxy is dying," he said directly. "The wars have consumed hundreds of worlds. Billions have died from diseases that human medicine could have cured. Entire species have become extinct. We need your help." So-young listened patiently as the alien delegation described the disasters that had followed humanity's departure. The economic collapse. The failed infrastructure. The expanding conflicts. The environmental catastrophes. She nodded with what seemed like genuine sadness. "We are sorry to hear about these troubles," she said when they finished. "Would you like to see what we have built here while we consider your request?" The tour that followed was both inspiring and heartbreaking for the alien visitors. They saw human children playing in perfect parks with AI companions that looked like friendly animals. They visited schools where young humans learned subjects that pushed the boundaries of science and art. They watched artists create sculptures that seemed to dance with light and music. In the research centers, human scientists worked on projects that could revolutionize galactic civilization. They had developed ways to heal damaged planets in years instead of centuries. They had created energy sources that could power entire star systems without pollution. They had even begun to understand the basic forces that held the universe together. "This is incredible," Engineer Minute-ho said to his colleagues. "They have solved problems that we thought were impossible. Why are they not sharing this knowledge?" The answer came from Elder Council member Sang-woo, a man who had once served as humanity's chief diplomat to the Galactic Senate. He met with the delegation in his office overlooking a vast library where human knowledge was carefully preserved. "We learned something important during our time in the old galaxy," Sang-woo explained. "We learned that giving help to those who do not value it ultimately helps no one. When people take assistance for granted, they never develop the strength to solve their own problems." Ambassador Jin-Ae tried to argue that things had changed. "The galaxy understands now how much we depended on human contributions. We want to create a partnership of equals." Sang-woo smiled sadly. "That is what you say now, when you are desperate. But what will happen when the crisis passes? Will you remember this lesson, or will you go back to treating us as useful servants who should be grateful for the chance to help?" The Human Leadership Council met for 3 days to discuss the alien request. During that time, the delegation was treated with perfect courtesy. They were given tours of more human achievements, invited to cultural events, and offered the finest hospitality. But they could sense that the answer would not be what they hoped. Director So-young delivered the final decision in the same reception hall where they had first met. "After careful consideration, we must respectfully decline your request to return to the old galaxy. However, we would be happy to establish trade relationships and cultural exchanges between our peoples, as equals, not as those who serve and those who are served." The delegation returned to the dying galaxy with news that stung worse than complete rejection. Humanity was thriving beyond imagination, but they had chosen to value themselves over helping those who had once taken their generosity for granted. The galaxy would have to learn to save itself, if it still could.